Another political blow for Donald Trump as the US Senate moves to curb his powers to continue the Iran war without Congress's approval. Trump is now facing growing resistance at home, with lawmakers demanding Congress, not the White House, decide America's next move in the Iran conflict. As pressure mounts inside Washington, Trump could face increasing calls to end the Iran war without the direct showdown with Mojtaba Khamenei many feared. Even as tensions remain high with Tehran, Trump is now battling political pressure inside the US over fears the conflict could spiral into a longer regional war. The US Senate has moved to curb Donald Trump's war powers against Iran in a rare bipartisan challenge to the White House. Lawmakers advanced a war powers measure that could force Trump to seek Congress's approval before launching any new strikes on Iran. The move comes just after Trump paused renewed military action against Iran amid signs of progress in diplomatic talks. According to reports, the measure cleared the Senate in a narrow 50-47 procedural vote. The vote came nearly 80 days after US-Israeli military operations against Iran sharply escalated tensions across the Middle East. The Senate push is being seen as growing resistance inside the US against a prolonged regional conflict involving Iran. The development is significant because Trump has already warned the US is prepared for a large-scale attack if negotiations with Iran collapse. This War Powers resolution was introduced by Democratic Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. Kaine argued that only Congress has the constitutional authority to take the United States to war. The senator also accused Donald Trump of ignoring diplomatic proposals aimed at ending the conflict with Iran. Kaine said the current ceasefire window was the right moment for Congress to debate America's next steps in the region. The Senate vote has also revived a long-running debate in Washington over the limits of presidential war powers. Under US law, presidents cannot continue military operations beyond 60 days without authorization from Congress. However, Republicans aligned with Trump insist the president acted within his authority as commander-in-chief. The resolution still faces major hurdles before it can become law, despite clearing a key procedural vote in the Senate. The measure must now pass the Republican-controlled House and survive an expected veto from Donald Trump. Meanwhile, tensions with Iran remain high despite Trump's earlier claim that a ceasefire had terminated hostilities in the region. Donald Trump has stepped back from launching new strikes on Iran, but Tehran is preparing for the possibility that the war could resume. Iranian planners now anticipate a short but brutal conflict if the United States and Israel attack again, rather than a drawn-out war of attrition. Experts say Tehran expects any fresh round of fighting to open with massive US-Israeli strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure. In response, reports indicate Iran plans to fire hundreds of missiles per day to try to overwhelm US and Israeli air and missile defenses. Iran is also expected to target oil fields, ports and refineries across the Gulf in an effort to jolt global energy markets. Analysts warn that energy hubs in the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia could face direct Iranian retaliation if hostilities resume. This posture comes as figures linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps threaten to drag Gulf Arab states deeper into any renewed conflict. Iranian hardliners have accused the UAE of enabling US-Israeli operations against Tehran, further raising the risk of it being targeted. Tehran increasingly views global economic shockwaves as one of its most effective tools against the United States. Iran could intensify pressure in the Strait of Hormuz to further disrupt global trade and energy flows if fighting restarts. It is also looking at the Bab el-Mandeb Strait as a second choke point where it can threaten international shipping. Sea lanes in the Red Sea controlled by Houthi forces could be used by Iran to widen the maritime dimension of any conflict. The Houthi militia has publicly vowed to support Iran if a regional war breaks out again. This escalatory rhetoric comes as Trump announced on May 18 that he is postponing a previously scheduled attack on Iran. Trump said he had decided to delay fresh attacks after requests from regional leaders across the Middle East. The revelation came amid reports suggesting that a new phase of Iran war action could begin within the next 24 to 48 hours. The US president first made the announcement on Truth Social and later repeated it during a media interaction.
Very happy.
Reports say Trump postponed new attacks after receiving urgent warnings from Pentagon officials. According to Tasnim, US defense officials warned that Iran had significantly strengthened its air defense systems. Senior American officials reportedly told Trump that Tehran had sharply improved its ability to detect fighter jets. Officials also warned Iran upgraded its missile interception systems and reinforced key air defense networks. The warnings reportedly raised serious concerns over risks facing American fighter jets and bombers during future operations. A US military official told the New York Times that Iran closely studied American aircraft flight patterns during the war. US intelligence assessments reportedly pointed to possible Russian assistance in Iran's military planning and coordination. Officials warned that American aerial operations had become increasingly predictable during the conflict with Iran. Concerns deepened after an F-15E was reportedly downed and an F-35 came under Iranian ground fire. Pentagon officials warned that Iran had emerged as a far more resilient and hardened adversary despite weeks of bombing. Meanwhile, Press TV released footage on May 18 claiming to showcase Iran's air defense systems in action. US officials said many of Iran's ballistic missile systems remain hidden inside deep underground mountain facilities. American strikes reportedly collapsed entrances to several missile sites, but failed to destroy the launch systems themselves. Officials believe Iran has already reopened and restored several missile facilities previously targeted during the conflict. Iran also reportedly repositioned mobile missile launchers and adjusted military tactics during the temporary ceasefire period. US officials warned Tehran still retained the ability to threaten regional energy infrastructure and American military assets. Washington also feared Iran could once again disrupt global shipping through the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump said he paused planned strikes after Gulf leaders requested more time for diplomacy with Tehran. Trump said Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates urged Washington to avoid immediate military escalation. He nevertheless warned that US forces remain prepared for a large-scale attack if negotiations with Iran collapse.